when you're starting with Microsoft PowerPoint, in the same way with Microsoft Excel and Microsoft Word, you're first presented with options of the various templates that you can use that are pre-designed, each of them with their own font scheme, each of them with their own color scheme, and even background scheme. So for example, if I started with the Celestial template and I click Create, you'll see that it already has a background graphic. And that graphic, it also has pre-designed fonts. It's as Calibri Light is the heading, 48 point, and then for the body, 18 point. All right, so these are pre-designed fonts, or pre-assigned fonts, as well as color and sizes. And if I were to add a new slide, no matter what new slide I add, it will always have that background. So that's okay for IAIA and the like, because you might be doing something for a presentation in class. But if you're presenting yourself as a professional, you don't want to go with someone else's design. Right? You want to go with your own, in essence, your own brand. So be aware then, when you are starting, I'm just going to close this one, and when you start, instead we'll say File. I'll just say New from Template, but I'm going to choose Blank. So now when I click Create, I've got a totally blank canvas. And I could populate that canvas with my own background. But to illustrate a point, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the web and I'm going to download a graphic. And let's see, what was the one I did the last? See, I think I did Batman, yeah. All right, so I'm going to go to the Batman image here, and I'm going to save it to my desktop. And then I'm going to go back to PowerPoint. Now we'll just imagine this is your own graphic, because from the Design tab now, I can go to Format Background. And in Format Background, I can choose a picture. Now ideally, the picture would be something that you've created rather than something someone else has done. All right, so suppose you've got one of your images, and you want to make sure your picture does not detract in any way from the text or anything else that you're going to be portraying. But I'm using this one in particular to illustrate a point. So instead, I want to use a picture or texture fill, and I'm going to use a file. And what I'm going to do then is I'm going to go to my desktop, I'm going to grab the Batman image, and now when I click Insert, Batman is the background. And any new slide that I now insert from here, oh, I left out something here. I'll go back to Design. I forgot to click, see, I've got File, Apply to All. So now anything, every slide I got, I got a whole bank of Batmans there.
Choices that you have up there.
When you click to Design,
Yes.
and then Format Background,
Yes. Are we supposed to be doing this?
no. And you can view this on, because this is being recorded, so you can view this once I upload it. And I'm doing this to illustrate something. Because this image, I mean, it might look, kind of cool on the screen there. But if you were to look at this image close up, it's actually really crappy quality. Remember that Ben had said that you want to use high quality images. And that reason being that a lot of information has actually been extracted or left out of this image in order for it to load quickly on the web. All right, so this is actually probably 1/100th of the actual file size in which it was created. So if I right click to get the properties on this, so I get info, this image is 150 kilobytes, 152 kilobytes. All right, that is really about as much information as you would find in a boldface title on a high quality font. All right, for one word. All right, it's actually not very big. And the reason it might look okay though is because your eyes do something. Your eyes will actually join dots. These are made up out of pixels. And an early artist of pixels was actually not working with computers. It was an artist by the name of Seurat. So I'm going to go, have you ever seen this painting before?
Yes.
Yep.
So,
And then Day at the Park.
Day at the park, day at the river, bathers. This is known as pointillism. And this painting, as many others that he did, were done by making hundreds of thousands of dots of paint on a canvas. And what it does is that your eyes will actually do several tricks. In other words, it will cause you not only to pull all the points together to make it look like a picture, but it will also, when you put certain color points next to other color points, it will cause you to blend the color. Right? But it's actually hundreds of thousands of dots. When you're looking at a computer image, they're called pixels. And you're looking at hundreds or thousands or millions of dots that create that image. The more dots or the higher resolution or the more pixels, the larger that image is going to be and the longer it's going to take to load on a web page. That's why when you're designing things for the web, you want to be aware of file compression. And file compression, for example, so this is a JPEG image, which means a lot of information has been extracted, but still enough there for your eyes to fill in the blanks. If you're familiar with MP3 as an audio codec, and if you listen to something that's encoded at 22 as compared to 196 as compared to 320, you'll notice that at 22, it might sound like this, but you can still tell that it's something by 9-inch Nails. It just sounds like he's singing it out of a megaphone or out of a telephone. That's because a lot of information has been extracted. So when you're using really high compression, it's actually reducing the file size so the things will load quickly. That being, in particular, because in the original, in the older days, I still remember, I never thought I'd be saying this, all right, I still remember 13,000 baud modems. Now you might think 13,000, isn't that really fast? No. This was back in the days of monochrome screens, and screens. Yeah, that too. All right, but monochrome screens, and when you were playing games like Empire, your graphics were little ASCII characters. They were little letters, asterisks, and the like. All right, your graphics were nowhere near what you see today. And something that's occurring in the web now, people look at video, they look at images differently than they do on their computer, on the web, and they look at media differently on the web than they do when they're watching a movie. On the web, when you're using video on your websites, and we're integrating this with PowerPoint, by the way. If you're using video on your websites, if you've got someone who's going to look 3 minutes of video on your website, that's a time to do a kegger. All right, when someone spends that much time looking at your stuff, 3 minutes, in the land of short attention span, because the web has shortened our attention span. And I'm going to make a comparison to an earlier time, because one of the shows that I used to love when I was a kid was Andy Griffith. And Andy Griffith had a little boy by the name of Opie, and Opie was played by Ron Howard, who ended up being an actor as well as a director in Happy Days, if you ever seen the reruns with the Fonz and all that. All right, and he ended up a very accomplished actor as well as director and producer. But in those days, when you watched Andy Griffith, it was in black and white. Your television was at the far side of the room. You sat on the sofa, and then it's a half-hour show. And as you're watching Andy Griffith, the commercial comes on. And in that day, typically, a commercial was 50 seconds to a minute. That's a lot of real estate. Most companies cannot afford a 1-minute commercial on Prime TV. So you got 20 seconds at best to get your message across. What changed the length of the commercial? What's that?
Because they can charge more and they can fit more in.
Okay, money is definitely that, sure. But it's actually a piece of technology.
Is it that? It's not that component in the TV, is it?
It's a component in the TV, yeah.
Oh, the remote.
The remote. Because in the days before the remote, you actually had to get off your ass and walk to the television and turn the channel by hand.
For your mom, you sat there and she would say, no, no, no.
All right, which meant that they had a good 30 seconds at least to lead into the commercial. All right, before you changed it. Most people were too lazy to get off their asses and change the channel. All right, the remote changed the length of commercials. What do you think changed the way that people view as well as look at web pages on the web? The mouse.
The remote.
It's like a remote. The mouse. Because if you don't have someone's attention within 10 seconds, what are they going to do?
Next page.
Click. Next page, on to the next website, image, movie, song, or what else?
And now it's changing. It's the magic thing to us, ad block.
Ad block? Oh yeah, ad block, yeah.
What's that dating thing?
Well, you know what's going to happen pretty soon, though, is that, you know what's going to replace this? Your eyes. All right, actually where you look. They already have technology in Japan, all right, where things can be directed by where you actually look. Something actually tracks your eye motion, and things can happen.
It hurts my eyes thinking about it.
All right, yeah, isn't that wild? All right, but yeah, at least you won't have to get the implants.
Yeah.
All right, but this is it's pretty astounding stuff that's happening in cyber technology. It's affected the way we perceive information, the way we take it in, and our attention to it. So when you're using graphics, you want to make sure on the web that things are optimized to load quickly. Even with broadband, you still want things to load quickly. Right? That's why, but things that load quickly are going to be very low resolution. Now for this class, you're going to be pulling images off the web to put into your presentations. Reason being that when we're looking at your presentations to grade them, right? If we're doing that and you've got a presentation that's full of high-res images and this thing is like 2 gigabytes large, there's no way you're going to be able to upload it to Blackboard, and nor are we going to be able to download it. That's why you're going to be working with low-res JPEG images for your assignments. In the real world, you want to use vector graphics as well as high-res images so that you can present yourself in the most crisp and professional manner. But for this class, you'll be using JPEGs, and some of them may look pixelated, but that's okay, because the idea is to get you through the process of design using PowerPoint rather than when you get to Ben's class, the real hard tax of being aware of file size, file compression, and where you're in essence you're doing a trade-off in image quality as compared to presentation content. And something to be real aware of, if you looked at Ben's presentations, and he made a real important point to say this, that he made sure that a lot of his images had a pretty much plain background. Right? When you want the content to be out there, you never want your frame to look better than your content. You never want your painting as an artist to look worse than the frame. All right? Someone walks by your painting and says, wow, that's a really nice frame. Great matting job, and then they walk on. Don't even look at your painting. You never want your album cover to be better than the album. So you really want to be aware, you focus on the content. And when he talked about that notion of an economy of words, all right, this goes back to minimalism where less is more. All right, because in presentation with PowerPoint and multimedia, people will also fill in the blanks when you give them bulleted points. You can often get away with sentence fragments with enough words to give people the suggestion of what you're going to talk about. Those key words trigger the thoughts that you want to talk about, and you fill it in out loud. Right? So the same thing happens when you're putting titles and words in there. And Ben mentioned, when you've got someone doing a presentation, they're reading the whole damn thing to you, and all you're doing is looking at their backside. All right, they could send you the PowerPoint to read. The idea is to make that connection as an artist, as a writer, all right, as a curator, face to face when you present yourself. So we're really looking at skills that you transfer from a computer then to activating them as you would face to face, person to person, where you're applying for that job. You want to get in that show. You want to be doing a reading in that particular author's group. So being aware of file compression. So, and we'll talk about this when we talk about adding audio. video and still images to our presentations too, because you're going to be generating multimedia presentations. There are, I've seen screenwriters who actually do their film treatments on PowerPoint. So they're actually doing the film treatment on PowerPoint using images and very low glitz transitions and the like to explain how this story is going to progress. Documentary filmmakers are using PowerPoint to do the storyboards, right? Using low glitz and glamour transitions to show how one seed fades into the next, fades into the next, fades into the next. All right, PowerPoint is an excellent idea organizing program to use. And so that's why we kind of saved it. We save it for dessert in this class, because what it's going to allow you to do is integrate multimedia with text, with your own personal presentation to put yourself forward in the most professional manner. So what you're going to do now is, if you go to Blackboard, you should be able to see week 11 and two different assignments. Let's see, this is section 1, and if you're online with the Tech 101 D1, this would be in module 6, I believe. So if you scroll down to week 11, though, in the face-to-face class, you'll see that there are, the module lecture files will be there by tomorrow night, but you see the assignment descriptions and the assignment submission links. And assignment 11.1 is going to have you present or to prepare a PowerPoint presentation. So you'll download the assignment 11.1 PDF, and it tells you what each of these 6 slides in this presentation are going to consist of. Now, where it says a thumbnail of yourself, you can use Photo Booth from this computer to shoot that selfie, or you can use your own cell phone. Or if you already have a number of selfies or a number of images of yourself already, those are fair game, but you will have that in the first slide. You'll also be going to various websites. So suppose you want to do, let's see, I'm going to do Rob Zombie, because my funeral is going to be playing More Human Than Human. And what's going to happen is I'm not going to have a casket. I'm going to be cremated. And then when people come, my urn is going to have a lid on it that says "Open Me." And when they open it, it's going to go da 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 da, and More Human Than Human is going to play. And then it's going to be shot into outer space in a chock full of nuts can. All right, but if we go to Rob Zombie, and I'm going to go Images. So let's see, I go to Rob Zombie, and if I view the image, I can download it from the web by right-clicking. Save image as, I'm going to save it to my desktop, and then I now have it available to incorporate into my PowerPoint presentation. Right, so in this case, you're allowed to save the images off the web, but if you take an image off the web, I'm going to expect you to highlight the URL from the site that you got the image from, and make sure you include that as a citation on the actual slide itself. Is that clear what we're asking you to do? So when you're getting images off the web, other than ones you've created, make sure you have the URL there so that you're not plagiarizing. That will at least keep you in that practice, because you can plagiarize images as much as you plagiarize text. It's still theft of intellectual property. Yes, Tiffany.
So in week 11, I do not see assignment 11.01. I see assignment 11.02, description and source files, but not 11.02.
Oh, give me just a second here. This is Tech 1, okay, oh, I see what happened. I put the wrong release time on it. I apologize for that. It'll be there in just 1 minute.
I just want to make sure I'm not totally crazy.
Well, you still are, but you can, I'll make sure it releases for today too. Today's the 24th, is that correct?
Yep,
Okay, yeah, I totally set the wrong parameters on this.
you're on the eve of darkness.
Okay, now it should be viewable once you refresh it. So you have two assignments to work on. One of them is to create this 6-slide presentation. The other is you're working with pre-generated presentations and you're using the text. All right, the practice tasks at the back of the chapter, and this will be at the back of chapter 10, I believe, or pages 347 through 349, and you're performing the operations in those practice texts or practice exercises in order to do the add, remove slides, reuse slides, create sections, rearrange slides, apply themes, change backgrounds.